Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Simple Awakenings podcast, where we are hoping to find some clarity in life's chaos. I'm really excited today to talk about how high achieving moms and superwomen can go from surviving to thriving, which many of us don't even realize we're in survival mode. So, today I am so excited to bring on my guest, Kate Kripke, who is a licensed certified social worker. She is a psychotherapist who is a thought leader, consultant, psychotherapist, author, podcast host. And she and I share the fact that we love empowering high achieving and success driven women. She helps moms to overcome anxiety and guilt of motherhood. She likes to help people be the calm, connected, and inspired woman and mother that we long to be. Hello. Kate is a founder of the Parent and Family Wellness Center in Boulder, Colorado. Her passion is really helping with maternal mental health and supporting women and children from birth to about age 12. And she is just I really started following her on Instagram, and just so many of the things that she said resonated to me as a high achieving, success driven woman. And my kids are all grown, or, I have my youngest is 16, my oldest is 24, but this resonates with me, and I'm sure it's going to resonate with you. So please join me in welcoming Kate Kripke to the show. Thanks for being here, Kate.
Hi, Jen. I'm so happy to be here. One of my favorite topics to talk about.
Oh, mine too. Mine too. And I mean, it's funny. I think so many women, we don't even realize we're in survival mode. We think we are, but we're so caught up in the doing and the trying to keep up that we don't even realize we're drowning sometimes.
I think that's
And
right.
right. And we feel so disconnected from our life, but we don't understand why we're feeling disconnected or why we're not happy. And so this is a conversation that I'm very passionate about having. I know so many of my super moms, super women that are listening will resonate with this. And I know a lot of your messaging and my messaging are very well aligned. And so I was so psyched to have you come on. So can you tell us a little bit just about your history and sort of what brought you to this place?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking. I have been working as a clinician, so as a psychotherapist in the field of maternal mental health for 20 years. And really, my work started in the early maternal mental health, like that pregnancy and postpartum
Mhm.
stage. My work has really evolved, as you said earlier, into really to working with women who have children anywhere, sort of that school aged, right? That
Yeah.
birth to 12. And that is a particularly interesting time frame for me
Mhm.
because that's when children form the most brain structure, when humans form the most brain structure. Our brains are
Right.
always changing, right? Always adapting. But this period of time, birth to 12, is when so much is happening in a kiddo's brain.
Mhm.
It's also the time that those of us who, as you said, consider ourselves to be high achieving, success driven women tend to struggle with the most anxiety in motherhood.
Yep.
And what I found, and also just like you, I mean, I'm 51, I've got two teenage daughters, 15 and 17. And so I don't have babies anymore either, but the challenges of
Mhm.
motherhood hit us whether our kids are teenagers or infants, right?
Absolutely. We're
The,
just on
the
the
lack
other side. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's still uncertainty, there's
Right.
still
Oh,
unpredictability, there's still chaos, right?
right.
And
It's just a
our
different kind of chaos. Yes.
That's right. I'm curious, as I'm going to kind of pose a question back to you. And let me say one more thing about what got me here. I was
Yeah.
raised by a very high achieving, success driven
Mm.
woman, as a mom who did amazing things in her life. And I inherited a ton of her anxiety.
Mm.
And so, I think there's, because of the data that talks about maternal and child mental health and how
Mhm.
deeply interconnected it is,
Yes.
there's a way in which, to your point, when we as women and mothers get so used to living
Mhm.
in this type of stress,
Right.
used to just feeling the tension and tightness in our body, we're used to
Right.
striving for more, we're used to fixing stuff, we're used to getting things done, That has an internal impact in us physiologically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically. It also has a deep impact in our children. And so
Absolutely.
I'm wanting to educate mothers, women, just like you said it so beautifully, clarity in the chaos, to realize that women can still be high achieving. They can
Yep.
still reach amazing goals. They can still be incredibly successful
Right.
and stay connected and calm and steady with their kids in this motherhood journey. And it takes there are different skills for each one.
Absolutely.
So
I feel like, Kate, it's more like redefining what success is.
that's exactly
Like,
right.
taking it I just gave a talk about this whole topic, about redefining success, about cultivating calm and connection and empowering superwomen to get out of that burnout, which we because we're chasing this dream or this societal kind of picture of what success looks like. I mean, how many women do we know that are kind of told? I mean, if anybody saw the Barbie movie, did you see the Barbie movie? It's
Oh
like,
yeah, sure
right?
did.
And I resisted. I was a reluctant watcher of the Barbie movie, but and at first I was like, I don't know about this, but then it started to make sense. And it's this: you need to be strong and yet soft. You need to be successful in your career, but you also have to be a successful woman. Or even you have to, be able to do it all, be it all the time. And it's just not realistic. And so I feel like Maya Angelou had a quote, and I'm going to try but she was talking about success, and success is loving what you do, liking how you do it, and liking who you are. That's success. So I feel like all of us all success driven women, blah, 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 that's a tongue twister. We need to just start to shift the way that we are perceiving things. And that was a big deal for me because I did not have a high achieving mom. I had the opposite. I had a mom who didn't work, and I remember looking at her going, "Why aren't you working? All my friends' moms are working." I didn't have that. My mom was a nurse, but she gave it up. And I almost feel like I was the opposite of what my mom was, but I do know so many women that are trying to do it all, be it all, have it all, and there's a price to that, and the price is our own health and happiness.
Well, look, what we're really going for is a feeling.
Mhm.
When we define success by what's on paper, we're missing the point.
Yes.
And I think really what happens when we define success based on what's on paper is we being those women like you and I who are struggling with, like you and me, who are struggling with anxiety and motherhood, right?
Mhm.
We take the methods for being successful in the rest of our life on paper,
Yep.
thinking ahead, being organized, problem solving, preparing for crisis, all those things that have kept us successful outside of motherhood. We take those things and we try to apply them to motherhood.
Yes.
And when we apply those things to motherhood, we end up feeling the opposite of successful. We
Absolutely.
still want to feel successful. So again, I mean, I'm like a both ander and I will both and this one too. No, we can't do it all.
No, not yeah.
And yes, we can if we actually do it differently. Right.
Right.
So it's sort of this way of, I mean, I want to come back to sort of the big root of our question here, because you've used this term several times. What is supermom? What is superwoman? When you use that term, what are you suggesting in that?
Yeah.
What goes into that label?
Yeah, well, to that, for me, it's strong women that are capable, that can do and manage a lot of things at a time, that are the people that people come to for help and support, that are strong and independent, that are intelligent, and that can multitask and manage. But on the surface, we are appearing like we have it all together. But internally, we are burning ourselves out because we're showing up. It's like, I like to say, it's like the check engine light of our car, right? Like we're driving around, our body is the car, our mind is the engine, and our soul is the check engine light. And so when that check engine light goes on, we're so busy, either we don't notice it or we see it, but we don't have time to deal with it. So we think, okay, we'll deal with that later. Those are the super women, super mom. They're the ones who kind of everybody's coming to and piling stuff on, and we're going, yep, 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 I'll save you, I'll do this. But there's a price. We can't continue that without taking those breaks and recharging. So I call it, like, I was that mom, that the burned out superwoman, right? That was trying to be it all, do it all, have it all.
Right. Who's trying and who's trying to do it all, be it all, and have it all without feeling emotionally
Mm,
the hard feelings that will inevitably come with that. So to me, that's the big missing piece. And again, I'm looking at this from sort of a psychological and mental health
right.
perspective. Is if we are going to, if one is going to raise healthy children, be a mom, so
Yep.
show up with the chaos of messiness of motherhood, unpredictability of motherhood,
Yes.
continue to pursue whatever it is that they want to pursue outside of motherhood, whether that's a career or volunteer work or fitness goals or
Mhm.
arts, whatever it is, right?
Right.
And be the kind of friend that's available and willing to sit with people in her lives that
Mhm.
are having a hard time, be available to them.
Mhm.
If she's going to do all of those things, she has to be willing to feel the emotional discomfort that's going to come up in each one of those things. So that's why I say we can
100%.
do it,
Yeah.
but we have to do it differently.
So you know
We're-
what I would call it too is the warrior mom. I remember I thought of myself, especially with my kids. Like I had kids with massive challenges. One of my sons had a stroke and another one had cancer. And when I was going through those things, I was like a warrior. I was in survival mode. But it was sort of when the dust settled, because I didn't have time to feel, Kate. I didn't. And I mean, how many listeners have gone through something and you literally just like can't catch your breath? You're just already thinking about the next thing. You're already kind of looking to put the next fire out or to check off the next to-do list, that you don't have time to think or feel. You're thinking, but you don't have time to feel those emotions. And for me, I felt like if I stopped to feel those emotions, it would cripple me. Like I wasn't sure I would be able to kind of pick myself up and get out of bed and keep going. So it wasn't until sort of I started to get out of that crisis mode that I started to work with somebody who said, honey, you have to reattach the warrior head to your warrior heart, because you've got to process all these emotions that you've just shoved down. Right? And that many of us wind up, I had migraine headaches, I had gastrointestinal issues, I had all of the physical issues of stress. And when you suppress those emotions, they show up somehow.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I'll both and it here with you. Right. So, yes, I mean, of course, our by design, we are biologically wired, neurobiologically wired to, when there is a real crisis, to do nothing other than what's required for us to get to the other side of that
Yep.
crisis. Right. So when I hear you say, I didn't have time to
Mm,
feel, I couldn't feel, there is some truth to that.
mhm.
Neurobiologically, there is truth to that. And I disagree.
Mm,
In general, if I'm taking my perspective on mental health and motherhood and I place it here on you, and it's a both and. I don't
mhm.
disagree, meaning, let me say that differently. And there's another way to think about this
Oh,
as
totally.
well,
Yeah. Yep.
which is that when we tell ourselves, if I feel these emotions, they're going to take over,
Mm,
that's where there's a limiting belief there. If we're
yeah.
not taught how to feel what is humanly normal, valid, important to feel, if we're not taught how to feel that,
Mhm.
those feelings will take over.
Right.
But the feelings themselves are not dangerous.
Right.
The feelings themselves are actually helpful, they're informative, they're sure as heck makes sense. I mean, you've got a kid who had a stroke or who has challenges, like, yeah, you're gonna feel there's so much uncertainty, there's so much unpredictability, there's going to be anxiety that comes with that. And so I think part of what's missing here in this sort of the way that women are going through life right now is that they're going through these very intense, many balls in the air, hard things to have to achieve,
Mm,
but they're not taught how to feel those feelings when they come up so that the feelings move.
right.
And I think that's where there's this both and, right? Like, yes,
Mhm,
let's be kind to ourselves. If we're
mhm,
being chased by a bear, we don't have time to pause and think, I'm scared that the bear is chasing me. We have to just go.
right.
And if there's any kind of crisis or trauma or ongoing stress that's longer,
Mhm,
that's cumulative, we have to be able to feel.
mhm,
If we're not feeling, we'll develop migraines.
mhm, mhm. Yep.
If we're willing to feel and just feel the feelings, not the narrative of
Mhm.
catastrophe, but the feelings, then those feelings will move. Does that make sense? I mean, it's a
Totally.
very
I like to say it's like yeah, it's like noticing that you are feeling a certain way, but not attaching to that feeling as being who you are. Not giving
absolute.
it a comfortable home to like, that's what I say to my clients, like, notice it, but don't give it a home to, like, make it cozy to hang out there. It's like a wave, right? Those feelings come in, you notice it, and then you allow them to go. It's when we attach to them that they have trouble going, right?
Yeah, totally. And the words I often use along with attach is over identify with them.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know, I'm feeling really angry right now. That doesn't make me an angry person.
Right, instead of, "I am really angry right now." Exactly, and that's the mind shift, though, to your point. That's the change in the way that we perceive these thoughts and the way that we don't realize how powerful our words are, and just saying, "I am something," gives it a whole different identity than "I feel." But,
Oh,
I so are you finding I know in my practice and even like I teach in a college and I'm noticing it
yeah.
with my students and with kids, people are afraid to feel. We wear busyness as like a badge of like importance, right? Where we're so busy and I'm so dizzy. But I feel like when we aren't feeling and we're so caught up in the doing, we also get caught up in the comparisons, in the judgments, in the trying to figure out who we are and where we fit based on other people instead of really dialing into ourselves. And like for me, I know with my kids, I had to and it was there's nothing like your child to give you that motivation to really show up and be present. I had to do that for my children to really connect to that. But by doing that, I was able to connect to myself. And I was able to realize, like, I am enough. Why are you running around like a chicken with your head cut off? Right. And, I I see that in so many moms. Like even somebody was telling me like literally I was the mom that would like bake the cookies and do all this stuff and part of me really liked it, but part of me was also trying to show everybody that I had my quote unquote shit together. You know what I mean? Like, but then there were
Yeah.
other women I realized that that was intimidating because they thought, "Oh, geez, Jen's got 4 kids and has got this and this, and she's showing up with the home baked goods, and here I am going to the local market and picking up a," you know. But again, it's this comparison. It's like we all have different narratives or different priorities and different passions and all that. But I had to go, girl. What are you trying to prove, and who are you trying to prove it to?
Well, again, you're going for a feeling. You're wanting to
Yeah,
feel like a good mom.
important.
And you're bringing you as you as the representative, the collective of
Yeah,
people who do this. You
yeah,
are doing what the method you're using to feel like a good mom is the method that has helped you feel like a good whatever out there in
yes,
the world, to do more, to
right.
show up with the perfectly baked cookies that you've put, like all those things that you're bringing back to motherhood to feel like a good mom don't work,
Yeah.
because you know what helps us feel like a good mom?
What?
Seeing our children in the moment
Mm.
for who they are in the moment.
Yeah.
And when we're able to do that, we feel deeply connected with our kids.
Oh, yes.
The connection isn't dependent on the homemade cookies for the bake sale.
Absolutely. In fact, I remember I used to my first son, it's funny, you know how they say, like, those memes that say your first child, your second child, your third child, right? My first child, I remember I was attaching to that perfect mom, right? The perfect, do this perfectly, do that perfectly, have my own birthday parties, over the top stuff, right? And then I remember it got to the point I'd make these elaborate cakes. Now I did like to bake, but I remember when I think it was my second son, or maybe it was third son, it was like, "Mom, can I just get, like, an ice cream cake from Carvel?" And I was like, crushed, but then I realized, like, yeah, you can, and then when one of my kids wanted to go to, like, Laser Quest for his birthday instead of having me do so, I was like, "Okay," but it's funny how it, like, takes a little while to let go, but once you let go, you realize all they care about is the presence, meaning people being there in their lives and celebrating and having fun with them. That's what matters, not the stressed out mom that's running around trying to do everything and get everything perfect because
Yeah.
they don't care.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And maybe even a step farther, which is what what one of the things they care about is having all those people with them to
Yeah.
celebrate their birthday.
Yep.
The other thing that they really care about is being seen for who they are by their mom.
Yep.
So if you had a kid who is like, Mom, it's really important to me. Like, your kid's not going to say this because this isn't the way kids speak. But if your kid said to you, I feel so loved by you when you cook your own homemade chocolate chip cookies,
Yeah.
then cooking the homemade chocolate chip cookies is going to come from a different place and provide you with a different feeling as you do it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That might be the scenario.
Yeah.
More times than not, the kids don't, can I swear on your podcast?
Of course.
The
Yeah.
kids don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They just want a cookie, or they just
Yeah.
want the thing so that they're not embarrassed to show up without something in their hands. Like,
Right.
they don't care.
Right.
Sometimes they'll care.
Yep.
And so it's about this is why, to your point, when we're speeding up and doing so much and 5 steps ahead, so that we can't be right here in the moment, when we're able to slow down and really look at our kiddo and say, hey, we have a couple choices here. I can spend a few hours baking chocolate chip cookies for this thing if that's what's important to you. I'll totally do that. And I'm imagining that I might have to go work after dinner because I've got a lot of stuff left over that I'm going to need to
Mhm.
do if I do that. No problem. Or I can just go, I can hang out with you now and go get chocolate chip cookies from the store later, right? So that we're not making this all or nothing assumption in our
Yeah.
head
Yep.
about what a good mom does.
Absolutely. 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 Yeah. And I mean, what are the things that you feel like, let's get into some of these strategies, because how do we start to shift this mindset for all the moms that are listening, all the people that are like, yeah, that's all great, but how do I do that? How do I, especially when you have outside world, outside people telling you what you need to be doing? I think about breastfeeding, something as simple as breastfeeding, right? There are women that's really hard for, right? There are women, I remember my first child, everybody was like, "You have to breastfeed, that's the best thing for them, and I wanna do whatever's the best thing for my kid." So I remember trying to breastfeed and, I my nipple cracked and I, latched on and I'd see stars and I was just waiting for the nurse or the, lactation consultant to say to me, "Oh, you can't breastfeed anymore," right? Like, take that choice, like, "Oh, I can't do that," right? But I did, and I was a large-breasted woman that was trying to breastfeed, but also trying to be modest, and again, it's that duality of you should breastfeed, but yet, like, adults saying, like my father, but nobody needs to see that. So do it, but be modest and, all this stuff. And it was like, well, I don't know where to be. I don't know how to be. So I'm gonna, and again, it's that pressure where we listen to all the outside noise, but we stop listening to ourselves and we stop doing what we feel is right for us, right? Because some of that survival is because we're trying to keep up with all these expectations. And to me, those expectations, whether it's our own expectations or the societal expectations, that's what kind of throws us off balance. What are you saying? What are you seeing is like the massive survival stuff that's going on?
Yeah. So, what's really interesting in hearing you talk about this, and this might just be sometimes these themes evolve in these conversations,
Yep.
right? Is really, again, I think what's happening for women, for us, when we become mothers, is we're looking to feel a certain way.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
we have these ideas about the things that are going to make us feel those things, that are going to lead us towards those feelings.
Yes.
Now, from a mental health and psychological perspective, well, let me pause for a moment and say, I think it's fair to assume, and you've used some of these words, and just for timing's sake, we'll just name it. I think most women would say, well, I'll ask you, what do you imagine most women would say if we were to say to them, how do you want to feel in motherhood? How do you want to feel as a new mom? What do you imagine they might say?
Important.
Important, probably calm,
Yeah.
connected, competent,
Right. Oh, competent.
right?
Yeah. Like
Those are
they can do it. Yeah. They can handle it.
confident. Those are probably
Mhm.
the words that they would use,
Yeah.
right? And the reality is, this is a very clinical term, but the term is agency. When we feel like we don't have agency, which is choice and control,
Oh, yeah. Which
we
is our
will feel
power.
agitated, anxious, scared, irritated, frustrated, angry. That's how we will feel if
Yeah.
we believe we don't have agency, if we believe we don't have choice and control.
Right.
When we believe and access agency, choice, and control, guess how we feel? Calm,
Absolutely.
connected, confident, and competent. So it's less about to breastfeed or not breastfeed,
Right.
to
It's
go
the
sleep or
choice.
put your baby in
Right.
another, to work or stay home. It's less about that. And it's more about whether or not we believe and feel like we have agency.
I agree wholeheartedly. It's the power of our choice. Our choice in the present moment is our greatest power.
Most of us,
Yeah.
especially if we're external driven, most of us, especially if we are achievement driven, success driven women
Mhm.
who have who have over identified with the success as ourselves. If
Mhm.
I make a mistake, if I fail at something, I am a failure,
Yep.
versus, oh, that thing didn't work, right?
Right.
Those of us who are driven by that often feel like, in order for me to feel calm, connected, and competent, I have to control and manage the things outside of me.
Yep.
I have to make
Yep.
sure, get my baby to breastfeed. I have to
Right.
get my baby to sleep. I have to get my toddler to stop tantruming. I have to get my
Right.
husband to stop coming home late, whatever the thing is, right?
Right.
We
If I
think
just
that
have this, I can have that. Yes.
That's right. We think that, and the problem with that is that we put all this energy and effort, physical, emotional, psychological, intellectual effort,
Yes.
into trying to get those things outside of us to change so that we feel those things. Because we actually don't have control over those things, that effort makes us more exhausted. It makes
Yep.
us feel less calm. It makes us feel less connected. It makes us feel like less competent and confident.
Mhm.
That's the spinning wheel. And
Yes.
so the answer is not what most people want to hear.
Yep.
The answer is the way to feel you want the way to feel the ways that you want to feel: calm, connected, competent, all those things, is to feel your foot on the floor and take a deep
Yes.
breath. It's to go stand outside in the sun. It's to ask yourself, what do I want and need in this moment right now that I have control over?
Yep.
It has to do with either my own thoughts, how I'm thinking, or my own actions, a
Yep.
behavior I'm doing.
Yep.
What thought or behavior will lead me to feel the way I want to feel? And that's 100% in a mom's control. Even if her baby is crying and screaming and not breastfeeding, or even if that baby is not sleeping when you want them to sleep, or even if that toddler is still throwing a tantrum.
Yes.
When we learn to do that and we access calm, for an example, that calm that we're feeling is what happens when we quiet the fight, flight, and freeze part of our brain,
Mhm.
danger, danger, danger,
Mhm.
and turn on our frontal cortex, which is problem solving,
Right.
logical thinking, creativity. We're more likely to actually be able to lean into our tantruming toddler
Mhm.
and get at their level
Yep.
and see them, help them feel connected to us, which is going to settle their nervous system,
Yes.
which will get us more of what we want. But again, to your point from what you said a moment ago, we can't see them fully. We can't see them fully in where they are until we see ourselves fully in
Yep.
where we are and tend to our own nervous systems first. But it's not rocket science. This is why people don't always love the answer. It literally is like, no, 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 feel your foot on the floor.
Yep.
But feeling my foot on the floor isn't going to get my kid to breastfeed. And you know
Yep.
what? It
Yep.
actually might.
Because it might calm you down so you can relax so they can latch on and the breast milk will come. Yes.
Well,
It's
exactly right. And our babies and children feel our energy. So
oh,
if I'm agitated and activated, my baby and child will be too.
absolutely. I mean, I like to call them mindful moments or like bite-sized snacks, right? Where you give yourself permission to pause. First, you have to be aware of, okay, I am tense and I am snapping and I am in that I'm not calm right now. So I need to get myself calm, right? By allowing myself that moment to just pause, breathe. That was a game changer for me. Just
Totally.
stopping, giving myself a couple of deep breaths to reset my nervous system so I could access my logical brain, so I could access my choices in the present moment and let go of the things that I didn't have control over. That was game changing for me.
And most quotes, air quotes, type A, success driven, high achieving women think that's a waste of time. There's no time for that
Oh, right.
because the definition of success has to do with achievement. How many things have I gotten done today? So if I pause and feel my foot on the floor and take the breath, that's not going to help me get my to-do list done. That's the thinking.
Oh, of course. I had a
And so
client that said to me, every moment counts. Every minute has to be accounted for. I was like, girl, that's why you have all this stuff going on. Yeah. Yeah.
it's a hard, it really is important, I think, for us to value and pay tribute to the reason why people
Yes.
believe that. Because
Right.
at one point in their life, that was probably true,
True.
that
Yeah.
pausing was actually dangerous, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Bad things would happen, right? Or that feeling your feelings. If someone has that belief that you shared in the beginning, my
Mhm.
feelings are going to take over. They're going to
Right.
freeze me. If that's someone's belief,
Yep.
they're not going to slow down. It's too dangerous,
I mean, there are a
right?
lot of people, like, there are a lot of people that are afraid of that stillness. They're afraid to stop because they're afraid of what they're gonna find. It's like if you're alone with yourself, do you like the company that you keep? That's a powerful that was like an old, Native American saying, like, "If you are alone with yourself, do you like the company you keep?" That was so powerful to me because 'cause I'm like, "You're right." Like, that's what stops a lot of people from that moment of stillness because I don't wanna feel. I'm afraid of what I'm gonna feel. I'm afraid of what I'm gonna find.
So, a big part of my work, Jen, is around, and I know you would agree, we've talked about this before recording, is around really beginning to see emotions as wise. Like
Mm,
they're like our compass.
mm,
They are there to tell us when we're off track
mhm,
in some way. And so
mhm.
if we're not willing to feel the reality of what it feels like to sit with the version of ourselves that we don't, the company, we
Yeah,
don't like that company. It doesn't
yeah,
feel good to sit with myself. If
yeah,
we're not willing to feel the not good feelings that come with that, we
mhm.
won't change anything.
Right.
The feelings are wise. They're here to tell us, your thinking is off track.
Mhm.
The choices you're making are off track. And so the way to feel different is
Yes.
to feel the hard stuff first. If we're not willing to feel it, nothing will change.
Right. And so what would you say to the listeners that are saying, "But how do you feel the hard stuff? Like, how do I do that?"
Yeah, great
'Cause that's
question.
the
Well,
scary part, right?
it's the scary part if you believe that
And
feelings are dangerous.
right, and
Right.
but it is the transformational part. When you are willing to sit in that discomfort, that's where change happens. That's where
Right.
transformation happens. Yeah.
That's right. And to sort of tie it all full circle before I answer your question, there's no motherhood without discomfort. So
Amen to that.
those people who fear emotional discomfort will end up feeling a lot of anxiety in motherhood
Yep.
because it's everywhere. We can't avoid the discomfort, which
Yep.
comes with unpredictability and uncertainty, right?
Yep.
So the question you're asking is like so important. You're right. It is where the transformation happens. So there's several things to do. One is really to question the validity of the belief. In 2024, is it really true that feeling the feeling is dangerous?
Mm.
Now, I'm going to tell you something, and this is a whole other podcast topic because we probably won't, episode topic, we probably won't get into it, but young children, it is dangerous for a small child to feel big feelings by themselves. A
Right.
small brain is not developed enough to metabolize big feelings alone because children don't have a fully formed frontal cortex. And frontal cortex is where we can connect A to B to C, where we can see big picture, where we can understand things. And so small children feeling big feelings on their own without the support of a caring, grounded, neutral adult is not safe. That child is going to begin to distance themselves and disconnect themselves from those feelings. An adult has a fully formed frontal cortex, a healthy adult. So it is no longer unsafe for that healthy adult to feel feelings because that adult's brain has the capacity to metabolize those feelings. So the first thing that those moms who are asking that, those women, doesn't have to be a mother, the women who are asking themselves those questions, the first thing they need to do is to challenge that belief.
Yep.
Is it possible today in 2024, may have been true in whatever year, but in 2024, as a fully formed, is it possible that it might not be dangerous for me to feel this emotion? Nothing I say after this moving forward will work if someone still believes it's dangerous.
Right.
So we have to start there, right?
Or dangerous, or I kind of think about the whole safety and security. Does it threaten your safety and security?
Well, that's what I mean by dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like unsafe
Yes.
for me. And so the next things that I suggest, how do you actually feel the feelings, won't work
Yep.
if someone still believes 100% fact that if I feel this thing, something bad is going to happen.
Right. Or in the moment, because to your point, in the past, maybe when you felt a feeling or expressed a feeling, something bad did happen. But that is it true in this moment, is your point. Yeah.
Is it true today in
Yeah.
2024?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Exactly. So the first thing we have to do is to really challenge those limiting beliefs, right? It's not fact. It is all about context. Back then, when those things were happening or that thing happened, that may have been true, especially if you were a child or young enough to not have a fully formed brain or didn't have a safe, secure adult
Right.
with you to
Right.
help you move through that thing.
Right.
Now, especially if you have a safe, secure adult, a therapist, a coach, a partner, a friend, a mentor, someone to say, yeah, I'm going to be right here with you while you feel this thing.
Right.
We have to understand on some level, even if it's just a possibility, that it's not a fact that it's dangerous for us to feel that thing. That's where we start.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing we need to do is to understand the difference between feelings and thoughts.
Yes, that's a good one. Yes. Yes.
You know, you probably have this with your clients where I might say to people, Well, okay, so your because I work with mothers, right? Okay,
Mhm.
so when your child is freaking out in that way, how do you feel? And
Mm,
they might say, "Well, I feel like it's going to go on and on forever, and it's never going to end." That's not a feeling. That's a thought. How do you feel in
right.
your body? How
Yeah.
do you feel somatically? My chest is tight.
Right.
My jaw is clenched. My belly's turning.
Yes.
That's a feel. Those are feelings. That's what we're asking.
And your body gets heavy. Yeah, the exhaustion. I feel exhausted. Yeah.
Yes, that's the feeling. That's what
Mhm.
we're saying is not going to kill you. A feeling never hurt a healthy adult.
Right. That's a
What
great
we do
point.
to avoid the feeling can be hurtful to ourselves or someone else, but the feeling itself never hurt anyone.
Right.
Not a healthy adult who's got a fully capable brain and right? Okay. So we really need to know that we're actually talking about those feelings and then the emotions that we connect with the feelings. Okay, what emotion might you connect with that really uncomfortable feeling? Anger, sadness, disappointment, fear, right? Okay. So first thing we do is name it to tame it.
Mm,
What are we talking about here? And then the second thing we do, which I know you talk a lot about, Jen, is offer ourselves up some self compassion. We really skip this part. Lots of high
right.
achieving, success driven women skip this part because there's a lot of critical thinking that accompanies that type, quote unquote, type A, that type of high achieving woman.
Well, it's vulnerable. It's a vulnerable place, and we don't like being vulnerable. Yeah.
It's a vulnerable place. It also is likely that category of woman believes that self compassion gets in the way of success because self compassion is about meeting ourselves where we are in the moment. Of course, I feel this way.
Mhm.
These feelings make sense. And many of those, that category of superwoman, has been raised to believe that their success is dependent on how hard on themselves they are to keep
Mm,
going.
mhm.
You can do better than that. What the heck? Do better, think harder, work harder. That kind of rigid be more talk can get confused with success, but all the data says something different. All
Right.
of it says that self criticism gets in our way of
Yes.
success,
Yep.
and self compassion makes the pathway for more success. So, what I say to my clients all the time is, you've been this successful with that kind of set critical self talk. Imagine how successful you're going to be when you learn self compassion to meet yourself where you are.
Yes.
So, that second part of how do we feel those feelings is number two, we meet ourselves with self compassion. It makes sense. Of course, I'm feeling this way. It makes sense. My kid is throwing a tantrum. There are a lot of people around. It's a lot of noise, and I don't know what to do. Of course, I'm feeling anxious. Of course, I'm feeling tense in my body. That makes sense. Once we've done that next part, we can ask the big question, which is, how do I want to feel?
Mm,
And how is this feeling of tension in my jaw, turning of my belly, fear and anxiety? What are those feelings here to tell me about what I actually need to do to feel more of what I'm looking for? Calm, connected, empowered, grounded. I need to feel my feet on the floor.
mm.
I need to take a deep breath. I need to remind myself, I need to use language with myself that's going to get me close to remind myself that I can feel uncomfortable and both feel uncomfortable and be okay at the same time.
Right.
I can remind myself I've done hard things. I can do this thing. I can then get down at my kid's level and look them in the eye and be like, buddy, we need to leave this door now.
Yeah.
Right. Or whatever the thing is
Yeah.
versus getting that control thing about whether or not to buy the cereal or whatever it is that we've been doing that's getting everybody all escalated.
Right. Right.
So I do think it's a three-step process, and it's about taking action that gets us closer to how we want to feel. But it's just to reiterate, we have to feel the feeling
Yeah.
first.
Yes. Those are great points. I mean, it's funny. I think about the projection too. Like so many of us, when we're in these moments, we start projecting and thinking that catastrophic thinking, like, well, this is going to be this all the time, or what if this happens, and then this happens, and that happens, and that throws us into this stress spin. But instead, and the importance of that, putting your feet on the ground. And what I like to do is just to somaticize things, put my hand on my heart and a hand on my belly, and say, wow, this is really hard right now. Like, own it. Like, yeah, this sucks right now. But okay, what do I need in this moment? Because that's the only place I have control, right? And that breathing. I mean, I have had many a moment where I have been, lost it with my kids. I remember my son screaming one time at him, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And then I felt like horrible. I'm like, "You are the worst mom ever." And then that critical, and then I thought, I'm doing the best, and this is the phrase that I would repeat to myself all the time until I started to maybe ease up on myself. I'm doing the best I can with what I have in this moment, and that's enough. And then I would apologize, repair, right? I mean, I know Daniel Siegel talks about that all the time, repair, repair, repair. I'm sorry. Mommy shouldn't have talked to you that way, right? Because we all have these moments where we get to our breaking point and we lose it. And
So there's so much gold in this example because
oh, great.
um,
I'm glad I could be that.
there's so much gold because I mean, dare I say we all. I have yet to meet a mom who doesn't have some version of that moment,
Right.
right? And what happens if we're unwilling to here we are again, if we're unwilling to pause and feel the feeling, what happens if we don't do that is that we miss the opportunity for what we're looking for, which is calm, connection, and competence. Those are three words we
Mhm.
identified, right? So when you pause, you hear yourself yell at your kid and you hear the words you say and you feel bad, that's good that you feel bad.
Right.
That's good. We want you to feel bad in that moment. We
Right.
want you to feel bad. We don't want you to tell yourself, I'm a bad mom. That's a
Right.
thought,
Right.
not helpful.
Right.
But we want you to feel bad because you're off of your value system. You're off somehow. The feeling's there to tell you you're off. So you feel like put your hand on your heart and on your belly, as you said, and you take a deep breath and you feel your foot on your floor and you say, I am so uncomfortable with the way I just responded. I can both be uncomfortable and okay at the same time. Our definition of okay is not feel good and do everything right. Our definition is like, I can be steady. I can be alive and move forward with this feeling of discomfort. I can be okay at the same time. I feel so badly. I can be okay at the same time. Take a deep breath. Woo! I did not have what I needed in that moment. I can still honor that I'm doing the best that I can with what I have. And now I can back to my kid from that place of having honored and felt my discomfort. How do I want to feel? I want to feel calm, connected, and competent. And I can look at my kid and I can do this repair thing, which is where relationships grow.
Yes.
They grow and strengthen in the repair.
Yep.
So we have to make mistakes to be able to find the repair. So that's number one, right? There's no repair without a mistake. There's no strengthening a relationship without repair, which means that strong relationships require mistakes.
Amen.
So the competency in motherhood, the feeling confident, the feeling connected comes with the repair.
Yep.
It doesn't come with being perfect and
No.
getting the right cookies for the thing and saying all the right stuff and always being calm. It doesn't come with that. It comes with the chaos and the messiness.
Yes.
So you come back to your kid and you say, wow, mommy did yelled and I do not like how I feel right now after having yelled at you. I am so sorry. Next time, I'm going to remember to take my deep breath first. Or I realized I didn't eat breakfast this morning and I'm really hungry and I need to be better about feeding myself. Or I put way too much on my to-do list today and I haven't paused once all day. I need to do fewer things on my to-do. All those things that we know we need to do differently in order to stay in our integrity,
Mhm.
we're being reminded of.
Yes.
So there's so much opportunity in that example.
And I have to say too, the gift that you give your children when you do that, when you show them that you also make mistakes, it gives them permission to make mistakes. It gives them permission to own their feelings. It gives them permission to express their feelings. I mean, that is gold right there too, that it's like what you do for yourself ripples to your kids and
Yeah.
becomes a lesson for your kids, which is really, really powerful. So, Kate, what would you say is your maybe number 1 or, 1 or 2 tips for thriving and for, like, what would you say, first of all, thriving is? And then I do love beyond the recognizing, this to me was gold that you said, the recognizing what is a feeling and what is a thought,
Yeah.
because that distinction is pretty powerful and can stop you from that fear or that disconnect, with who you really are. So, what is thriving and what is your strategy or your top strategy thought to get there?
Yeah. So my definition of thriving would be feeling good in body, mind, and spirit.
Mm,
Now, feeling good can be in quotes, right? It doesn't mean I feel energized
right.
and enthusiastic. I mean, that could be your definition of good, but really I mean the experience of clarity. I
Yes.
mean that like I'm in that flow state, congruence. I
Right.
feel good. Like I'm not muddled in my body physically. I'm not feeling tension and muddled,
Right.
right? To me, that's thriving. But I actually want to say it, I'm going to define it differently because I don't mean 24/7. Good
Right.
luck.
I was going
Define
to say that's a key component. It's like a
it.
majority of the time.
It is so I define mental health, and I'm not the only one, by two important factors. Number one, my internal landscape, what I'm feeling emotionally, matches what's happening externally.
Yes.
If my kid is having a seizure, I'm going to feel scared.
Yeah.
If my kid is having a tantrum in the middle of a grocery store, I'm going to feel really uncomfortable. If my child isn't sleeping and I don't know when they're going to sleep, I'm going to feel anxious, right?
Right.
That means, although also on the other side, though, if my baby suddenly looks at me after crying with a big smile on his or her face, I'm going to feel something unexplainable.
Mhm.
When my child comes out of a doctor's appointment and we don't know what's been wrong with my child, and the doctor says, your kid's going to be okay, I'm going to feel relief.
Yeah.
So it goes on both sides. Sometimes when we're not mentally well, we don't give ourselves permission to feel well because those feelings of feeling good scare us as much as the feelings of feeling bad.
Absolutely.
So,
Because you're
our
waiting for the next shoe to drop. Yeah.
exactly. So mental health, our internal emotional experience matches what's happening externally. The second part is we have the tools to move from unpleasant emotion back to more pleasant emotion.
Yeah.
So to me, the definition of thriving is that I have access to, I'm
Mhm.
capable of feeling well mentally, physically, spiritually. By spiritually, I mean purpose driven,
Yeah.
like
Right. Right.
held in
Right.
bigger.
Not religious. Yeah. Right.
It might
Understood.
be, but it doesn't have to be.
Right. Right. That's a
So
part of it. Yeah.
yeah, and so many women, not just mothers, are going through life feeling like they're barely surviving, just keeping my head above water. Like I don't
Yep.
really feel well. I'm not sleeping well. I haven't gotten
Yeah.
exercise in a while, and I feel off, or like I'm cluttered by thinking, and I'm ruminating, and
Yeah.
I'm or I feel like I have no purpose, and I don't know why. That to me is not thriving.
Right.
The
Right.
beautiful thing about your question is that whether or not I, Kate Kripke, am thriving, whether or not I have the capacity to access all those places of health has nothing to do with what's happening in my environment. I'm going to be impacted by it because my emotions match what's happening. If my teenager is having a fit of teenagerness, and I'm my kid's mom, my heart is going to break with their heart. I'm
Mhm.
going to feel that.
Mhm.
And I can get myself back to a place of feeling love, connection, hopefulness. I can move from despair, disconnect, and fear to love, connection, hopelessness, and have nothing outside of me change.
So I love that you say that it matches the what's going on. What you're feeling inside is matching what's going on outside you. That's a really key, just to clarify for the listeners. There's congruity, like if something is happening that's uncertain with your child, that uncertainty and that fear inside of you is a congruent emotion. But where it becomes incongruent, which is where there isn't that balance or that, internal and external environment, is when things are calm and you are still feeling unsettled, unhappy, and dysregulated. That's where it's not matching. And so you are not thriving.
Is exactly right. And from a clinical place, that's where we would start looking at things like anxiety.
Yes.
Someone who's struggling with clinical levels of anxiety. Anxiety in and of itself is not a problem. To
Right.
feel anxious about something is not a problem.
Right.
But that chronic state of agitation, of sympathetic nervous system response, even when things outside have shifted, right? That's when we start to look at someone really being stuck in something that is, and it I mean, the reason it's problematic is that it's keeping that experience is keeping someone from living the life that they want to live. It's keeping them from the feelings they want to feel.
Right. Right. And if you're in that place of feeling like, I just am not happy, I don't know why I'm not happy. All these things are going on in my world that seem to be fine. I should be happy. Those shoulds. I should feel this. There are strategies and there are tools that are available to you that you just have to recognize that, not judge it, recognize it, and realize I need to get some strategies to move out of this and to
Yeah, and
find that
that
balance.
should word is always going to keep us stuck, right? So the
Absolutely.
question to ask is, do you want to feel different, and or do you need to feel different? Because again, if you have uh, if there's something that's chronically stressful outside in your environment, a pandemic, a
Mhm.
child who's sick, a conflict in your relationship, whatever it is, if that's happening and you're saying to yourself, I should feel excited, I should feel okay about this, I should, then we're like, wait, but now you're off that definition of mental health. Of course you feel
Right.
angry, disappointed. So do you want to feel different? Okay, we can help you get there. Do
Yeah.
you need to feel different because this repetitive, ruminating, stuck feeling you're having is keeping you from accessing these things that are important for you to access? That's also going to motivate you. The should is never going to motivate us. We
No,
think it will, but it never does,
no,
right?
it just feeds the whole spin process and the whole disconnect. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know that Kate has some phenomenal tools for you if you are in that place and you recognize that there is some imbalances or incongruity, that you are in that survival mode and you want to start thriving. I know Kate can help. I will put do you have any links that you want to share? I will make sure that I put them in the show notes, but anything that you want to say that you
Thank you.
would offer? Mm,
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I do have, I don't know when this is launching, but I do have a free webinar that's coming up on February 25th. And there's a link. I can send you a link for that. All the stuff should be on my website and on my Instagram feed. The work I do really is just with women who are also mothers because of that intersection between maternal and child mental health. And so that's really what a lot of my work is geared at.
yeah.
But yeah, most everything's going to be on my website. I have an active Instagram feed, and so people can find that stuff as well. That's at Kate Kripke. And I love these conversations. I think the fact, Jen, that you and I are bringing our minds together today in this hour to sort of peel apart these questions and brainstorm about what these
Mhm.
things really mean and share examples. It's like we're all in it. You and me both. We said this earlier. Jen and Kate don't get any hall passes. Like we might be
Definitely not.
providing support for women, but we're also having to do the work
But
ourselves.
I gotta say, I think what was it, Brene Brown that said, if you're not in the arena getting your ass kicked, I don't want to hear it.
That's
And
right.
that's, I have been in the arena. I've gotten my ass kicked multiple times, still get
Right.
my ass kicked. But now I have the tools, as you have the tools, to get out of that and to continue to thrive and reset. And so we both are here to help you if you are finding yourself stuck or in a place where it's, you know, that you can't keep going the way that you're going. We're here to help. I would love to end this with just something fun because we had a pretty intense conversation, and I've got like 3 more podcasts I could do with you, Kate, that I will some topics that came up which we will revisit. But I am going to ask every one of my guests a fun question. If you were having a dinner party and you were to invite 2 famous people, who would they be and why?
Oh my gosh, do I only get two?
Okay, you can have 3.
Okay. Well, the first answer I have to that question all the time that I all the time will answer is Michelle Obama. I
Okay.
think she's freaking amazing. And one of the things I love about her is her authenticity around mothering and the way that she had chose to mother her daughters during so much stress. So I would want to pick her brain about that experience.
Yeah.
The second one, I'll just answer two because I'm going to do that one and one more playful one. I went to see Taylor Swift with my teenage daughters here in Tokyo a few days ago. And dang, that girl is, I mean, what a businesswoman. I know now she's the talk of the town because of all the stuff around the Super Bowl. She is probably the most famous human on the planet right now. But let me tell you what I love about her, why I want to have her at my dinner table. She appears to love what she does and to have so much fun. And if you haven't watched the documentary about her, it's quite amazing. And I feel like sitting at a dinner table with Taylor Swift would just be fun. We could get up and dance, which I love to do.
Yeah.
She could sing her songs and I could pretend that I know all the words and like sing along with, I don't know. I'm in this particular moment a major Tay fan. So she would
Yeah.
be them.
Yeah. You and Travis Kelce.
That's right. I'm gonna fight him for her.
I go for the humor. I would have Graham Norton from the Graham Norton show. My son and I watch him and laugh, and I just think he just pulls the laughter and he pulls the like, he brings up those uncomfortable conversations, but he makes it fun and playful, And for me, it's Pink with the authenticity. I just love
There
how
you go.
real and grounded and, but for me, I love to laugh. So whoever can make me laugh is great.
I
All right.
love it.
Thank you so much for being on the Simple Awakenings. And I will have all of your information in the show notes. And for now, be well, everyone. Ooh. All right. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. That was fun. I have to run because I'm a
Yeah,
few
no
minutes
problem.
late, but I'm going to
Totally
circle
great.
back to
We just had too much to talk about.
we could keep going. We'll have you on my podcast so we can continue it over there. But to be
Absolutely. And we'll do another one. I would love to do another one with you on a different topic because a couple of ideas came up. All right. Have a great day. Thank you so much, Kate. And I'll get this to you as soon as I can.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.